You've already been through a series of irregular verbs in the preterite. The preterite tends to be the most challenging of the verb tenses for beginning students because there are so many irregulars within it. We are finally going to see the last part of the irregular preterite verbs. So you have seen where AR ending verbs have one ending and then ER and IR ending verbs have a different ending. This last set of verbs is so irregular that is going to use actually a completely different set of endings than the AR endings and the ER-IR endings. These endings look very similar to the ones that you had been working with. So if you were to take endings from AR ending verbs and some endings from ER-IR ending verbs and put them together, you're going to end up with this chart that you see in front of you. That is why they look so similar, but they are different to the AR and the ER-IR endings. Now, we are going to be using a different set of endings, and we are going to make modifications to the verb itself before we add this ending. So, you see in front of you a table that has endings such as iste, o, imos, ieron. We are going to add those endings to the new root of these verbs. For example, the verb poder is going to change its root to pud. And from there, we are now going to add our endings. So if I want to say I was able to, I'm going to say yo pude. And then I'm going to change my next conjugation in the tu form. Pudiste, pudo, pudimos, pudieron. For the verb poner, I am going to change my stem to pus and then conjugate accordingly. For the verb tener, I am going to change my root to tub. And then again, using the endings that you saw in the box in front of your screen, you will then conjugate accordingly. For the verb estar, we're going to change the root to estub and then conjugate with these new endings. For the verb saber, we're going to change to sup and then conjugate with these new endings. These endings, we group them together because they change to something that involves a U to kind of remind us where that changing is going towards. We also have another group that changes to a root that now includes an I. So for querer, the new root is going to be quis, Q-U-I-S. And then we're going to add the endings. For the verb hacer, we're going to change to is. But notice that for the verb hacer, the root is H-I-C. But if we add an O at the end of that, then that becomes a K sound. So if we were to spell it as H-I-C-O, that would actually be pronounced as ico. And we don't want ico, we want iso, which is why it has to undergo another change with a Z so that we can keep the pronunciation. So from what you can see here, you can see these roots have now changed. And this is what you have to memorize. And then you have these endings that you need to memorize. Now we have another group of verbs that changed to a J stem. These J stem verbs are going to be produj, dij, traj, conduj. But notice that the difference between these endings and the ones that we had previously practiced is that the ellos, ellas, ustedes form does not have an I. Notice that I added the I and deleted the I on your screen. It's only going to be eron, which means that the verb producir is going to be conjugated as produje, produjiste, produjo, produjimos, produjeron. It is very common in this region of the Southwest to hear it pronounced as produjeron, because we have a lot of heritage language learners that tend to generalize this rule, and because they have not been taught Spanish formally, they will make some of these mistakes. But note that grammatically it should be produjeron. And then you can work with other verbs such as decir, or traer. Or conducir. But notice that the ellos, ellas, ustedes form never has that I sound in it, which is why we pronounce the verb decir as dijeron. Traer, trajeron. Conducir, condujeron. I hope this helps you as you're trying to figure out how irregular these verbs are. Please keep with it, and I'm confident that if you get these, that you will feel very comfortable with the past tense and with Spanish in general.